Good evening. Welcome. Good evening.
Welcome. Good evening. Welcome. Good evening. Welcome. Good evening.
Try that.
Little rap from Charlie Foot.
Try that. All right.
Come on, Charlie.
Good evening. Welcome to the Derry Town Council meeting for Tuesday, August 15th. Council Katz-Course, please lead the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For those new here, the emergency exits are located in the back of the room. In the event of emergency, please use the stairs if you need help. We have plenty of uniformed officers over here. We're glad to help you. Cell phones, please silence them. And we will do a roll call. Councilor Chericello.
Good evening.
Councilor Spencer.
Good evening.
Councilor Katz-Course.
Good evening.
Councilor Flood. Good evening. Councilor Granessi.
Good evening.
Councilor Geckren. Evening. Good evening from the chair and
Mr.
town
Chair,
administrator and the town clerk. Yes.
we need to come out of non-public.
Thank you.
I'll make
We
a
have a
motion
motion.
to come out of non-public.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to come out of non-public. Councilor Spencer, second by Councilor McEachern. Councilor Chericello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katz-Course.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachern.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Carries 7-0.
And Mr. Chair, I vote to seal the minutes indefinitely.
Second.
Motion to seal the minutes indefinitely. Councilor Spencer, second by Councilor Chericello. Councilor Chericello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katz-Course.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Granessi.
Yes.
McEachern.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, 7-0. Great. Thank you, Councilor Chericello. Roll call. Councilor Chericello.
I'm here.
Councilor Spencer.
Still here.
Councilor Katz-Course.
Present.
Councilor, I'm going to do it officially now. Councilor Flood. Councilor Granessi.
Good evening.
Councilor McEachern.
Good evening
Good evening from the chair. Just make sure it's in the proper form, that's all. Do we have a motion to open public forum?
So moved.
All right, motion to open public forum. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is yours. Name and address for the record, and follow the lights.
Good evening, Councilors. Tom Carden, 2 Cunningham Drive. I went to the planning board meeting on the 17th of July, and I have a few comments that I want to make about the Watts Salvage Garage. When I got to the meeting, I looked at the agenda. On the agenda, there was 23,000 square feet of commercial space. I thought that's great. And then as I'm going through the plan, I saw 5,300 square feet. So I got up and I questioned that, and they said, well, it was the parking garage that was the extra space. And I, I didn't think much of it. So I did go home and I looked up the West Running Brook District, and according to the plans, that there is no parking garage allowed in that, and they were pretty specific about what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. And the other part is going to be a restaurant. And the point I want to make is that these apartment complexes that are coming in, I think the whole spirit of this West Running Brook District was to have a component of commercial. And I don't think a restaurant and a parking garage really is going to be enough for what they want there. And the other thing from at the meeting, then it went on to discussing phasing in. And as you know, phasing in is is ensuring that whatever commercial base comes in is occupied to make sure that that we have that commercial base in there. Well, the guy that was presenting there, and also the presenter of the Keystone project, both of those were pretty clueless about the phasing in. The Keystone, the guy had no idea, and the plan that the Keystone guy was doing, he had to have somebody get up and show him on the plan where phasing in was a thing. So, somewhere along the line, there's a communication gap between what these guys are doing and, what's in the ordinance and what the town wants. Also, at the beginning of that meeting, the planning director waived there was like 25 people there, abutters. He waved these 25 people and the guy who was doing the presentation, he waved them into the back room. And I didn't pay any attention to that. I didn't quite catch it. And, you know, so they went in, they discussed this plan, and it was a public hearing. I mean, that meeting in the back room should have been in here, so that, you know, the public had an opportunity to listen to what they had to say. I mean, I've been following this for 2 years. I think this is the 4th meeting that I've spoken about it, and I never had the opportunity to hear what they had to say. And when they came back into the room, not one of them had anything to say. There was myself. Can I have another minute or so? Is that okay?
Motion. I have a motion by Council Spencer to extend, seconded by Council Granessi. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. You know, but anyway, I thought that was wrong. I mean, I don't know if that's something that the planning board does all the time, whether they do that, but you do that all the time? Okay. I just thought it
Anybody's
was,
invited to go back to that meeting.
what's that?
Anybody's invited to go back to that meeting, not just the butters.
Well, you know, the problem I had was that I never had the opportunity to listen to what they had to say. You know, all of them were back there talking with the presenter, but, you know, the Watts Garage is, I think is the poster child for what is wrong with, you know, with this ordinance. You know, a restaurant and a parking garage just isn't going to make it. And, you know, a shovel hasn't even gone in the ground, and I look at this West Runningbrook District as a failure. It's a failure on the town's part. You know, I think they need to communicate more what's in the ordinance and what you guys really want. And in all honesty, I think you guys need to take this ordinance and look at it and fix the stuff that's wrong. And I think pretty much you guys know what's going on, and, you know, you guys agree with it. I mean, it really, in all honesty, it didn't make sense for them to build the restaurant while they're doing the rest of everything else. I mean, it didn't make sense. But anyway, thank you for your time.
All right, Tom.
Steve Trefethan. I'm a realtor on Broadway and property owner and God knows what else at this point. But yeah, the West Runningbrook, I'm not going to get into that. The West Runningbrook District has turned into a disaster from what it was originally intended to now, but I'll stay away from that. A couple of things I did send the town manager. Hopefully I went in the right direction. And also the town council chair. Something on the weeds. We do have a property code for weeds. I'm going to read it just because some of the councils may not be aware of that. I'll read it now. Vacant parcel of parcel of land is structured there on Section 302. It's Section 38, Adoption of International Property Maintenance Code. Section 202, General Definitions. 302, for weeds. All premises and exteriors properties shall be maintained free from weeds or plants in excess of 8 inches or what is considered by the code official to be reasonable and acceptable for intermediate neighborhoods. All noxious weeds shall be prohibited. Weeds shall be defined as grasses, annual plants, vegetation other than trees or shrubs, provided that they are not maintained for the purpose of landscaping. This term shall not include cultivated flowers, gardens, areas, whatever. So I'm talking about Folsom Road. The state took the property. The weeds are over 2 feet now. I spoke about this, I think, 2 months ago. I'm not sure if the state was notified. Maybe I directed it in the wrong place. I should have went to code enforcement. But, you know, I'm trying to keep nice properties there. They may be taking it, but it looks like hell coming into Derry. And the state, you know, they take the property and they leave it, and it's trashed. And the weeds are over 2 feet. And I think somebody has to notify them, and maybe I should have went to the code enforcement. I'm not sure where to go with that. But anyway, I want to say something because they could at least cut it. It's an entrance that we see coming by the police station and all that. It could look nice. It just cut it once a month or something. I don't know. Anyway, that was a thought. Now, as far as the exit 4A, something came up. I don't know what to make of it yet. I'll have more information, but I have told the council before I will bring anything I see that's unusual here. On an appraisal they did on some of my property over there, there was a clause in there, and I haven't gotten into it. I'm going to get more information. But it's the area situated, this is what they said inside their appraisal. The area is situated northwest of the permanent highway easement along the road's northwest row. The easement area will be utilized in the construction expansion of Folsom Road. The duration of the easement will be 36 months, beginning with the commencement of construction activities expires 3/26/2034. I don't know what that means, but easements can create issues if we're going to build later. And then because the temporary construction easement may not expire until March 2034. The development of property may need to be on hold until the easement expires. So again, I've gotten here before and said we lost $125,000 a year. We have no economic development. I don't know what this means. I don't know if it's going to inhibit us from building on certain things. I'll get a lot more information for the council, and I will bring it. But it's an interesting clause in there, so I wanted you to know about it. All righty, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me?
Your name and address for the record, please.
William Burry, 54 Bedard Ave. Just wanted to say this to you tonight. My wife and I have lived on Bedard Ave for 47 years. We built a life and a home we could be proud of and a place where we could enjoy our retirement. So we were surprised to learn that Derry would allow a poultry farm to suddenly appear right in the middle of this quiet residential neighborhood where houses are close together and lot sizes on average are 1/3 of an acre. Now, I'm not talking about a resident keeping 3 or 4 chickens because they want to have their own fresh eggs. I'm talking about chickens, roosters, ducks, and other fowl, along with all the noise and manure smell associated with birds in a pen. We contacted our elected officials and were directed to code enforcement, who told us there was no code violation. He also told me Derry wants to maintain its rural character, and if they made changes for our neighborhood, it would impact other areas of town that have more space. However, my research of town ordinances revealed his statement would not apply in our neighborhood due to Ordinance 165-154, which is specific to lot sizes smaller than 1 acre. This ordinance specifies that livestock shall only be permitted on lots containing 1 acre or more, but there's no minimum lot size for fowl. And that's the problem, because this ordinance allows you to have as many fowl as you want on small residential house lots. And the term fowl includes a wide range of farm birds, including chickens, roosters, ducks, turkeys, and others. Now, I know from my life on a farm that unless you scrape out the pen and keep it clean, it's going to really stink. And I also know that if you have 4 mature laying chickens and no roosters, you can expect an average of 20 or more eggs per week, which leads me to say you don't need a pen with dozens of poultry and the associated smell and noise just to get some homegrown eggs. At our current address, the manure smell swirls around our house and neighboring houses, and it's so strong that we can't have windows open because it's not appetizing when you sit down to eat, and the smell of manure comes wafting in the kitchen window. We're even restricted from hanging clothes outside to dry because they will smell like manure, and we can't enjoy being in our yard most days without feeling like the smell of manure will make us gag. This is wrong for an urban area where houses are close together, and it makes life miserable and unacceptable. I believe fowl should not be allowed in general in a residential neighborhood where house lots are less than 1 acre. And looking forward, this area will become even more urban after Derry approves 63 apartments, 9 townhouses, and other business at the end of my street where Watts Junkyard used to be. I think it's safe to say most of those new taxpayers won't want to smell manure around their cars, apartments, or listen to crowing roosters at 4 a.m. And I would urge this council to consider revising Town Ordinance 165-154 to prohibit all livestock and fowl from lot sizes smaller than 1 acre. You could always put in an exception to allow a maximum of 4 chickens at a residence for personal use, but prohibit roosters from the exception, and also state that manure smell from chickens should not be noticeable to abutters. I'm going to send a copy of this statement to the council members and the town administrator. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
Anybody else wishing to speak?
A little bright for the occasion, sorry about that. Mark Flatus, Linloo Drive. How's everybody doing? Long time no see. How you doing, Phyllis? Hey, one of the reasons why I'm up here is because I heard Elizabeth Robidoux was leaving the planning department. I'm sorry to hear that. I wish her the best of luck, but I really wish that you guys in town would, maybe get her a certificate or something. She's been around a long time and been very helpful to the members of the community. You know, I really don't want to get into too much. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned with what Tom came up and said about the planning board meeting. Not quite sure why we went to a back room type of deal, and why people that were in the audience weren't as informed that they could have gone back there and felt as though they were being kept out of it. Maybe that's something you guys could ask the planning board to review and see if maybe it was just a thing in the language. But other than that, glad to see you guys are all doing good. Town looks pretty good. Cut the grass, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Seeing none rise online, Mr. Chair.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close by Counsel McEachern, second by Counsel Katsoukaris. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Moving on to consent agenda. It's a pretty large one, so. 23-86, approved minutes from July 11, 2023. Agenda item 2387, resolution 2023-058, to accept the Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant and authorize an intermunicipal agreement with Rockingham County. That will have a public hearing on September 5th. 2388, it's resolution 2023-059, to accept a New Hampshire Highway Safety Grant for various traffic enforcement activities. Also September 5th, public hearing. 2389, resolution 2023-060, to apply for, accept, and expend a New Hampshire DES MTBE grant for water division pump station modification. Also September 5th, public hearing. Agenda item 2390, it's ordinance number 2023-004, amend chapter 150-9, general parking restrictions. Public hearing September 5th. Agenda item 2391, ordinance 2023-005, adopt chapter 99, camping restrictions on public property. Public hearing for September 5th as well. Agenda item 23-92, ordinance 2023-005, adopt chapter 56, regulating massages, saunas, and other types of baths. There'll be a hearing on that September 5th. Item 23-93, ordinance 2023-007, amend chapter 150-104, stop sign on Jefferson at High Street. Public hearing September 5th. Agenda item 2394, resolution 2023-063, request for supplemental appropriation to replace the fire alarm panel at Taylor Library. Public hearing September 5th. And that's it. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor McEachern, accept the motion, seconded by Counselor Spencer. On the motion, Counselor Chercello.
Yes.
Counselor Spencer.
Yes.
Counselor Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Counselor Flood.
Yes.
Counselor Canesi.
Yes.
Counselor McEachern.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Carry 7-0. Chairman's report. Based on your agenda, I'm going to take one moment to read something else. This is a state law on quorums. Recently, several councilors attended an event not affiliated with the town, and some questions were raised whether that constituted a meeting at the town council. Oftentimes, particularly in small communities, which may have only 3 select board members, a majority of the board or council may attend the same function in support of a community event or a fundraiser. The state legislature anticipated such occurrences when the right to know was adopted. RSA 91-8:2 states that a chance, social, or otherwise encounter not convened for the purpose of discussing or acting upon such municipal matters shall not constitute a meeting if no decisions are made regarding such matters. Thus, should you see a majority of a board or commission at a community event, that gathering does not constitute a public hearing, a public meeting, or a violation of the right to know law. Having said that, we were at an event. Somebody took pictures of 4 councilors at the event. My only regret that whole day was that the other 3 councilors couldn't join us for that event. Moving along. Councilor Spencer.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment. We're going to, I think, Owen, you're able to show, we'll show just kind of a slideshow. I just wanted to recognize a couple of things. Erin Robinson from the Derry Public Library worked super hard along with our DPW and others in town to bring a new marker to Derry, and it is in recognition of William Hobdy, who was the first known black business owner in Derry. Had, from what I had read prior to this event, kind of had multiple businesses in town, including ice cream was somehow involved. So I know they did an ice cream social during this event. So I just wanted to give recognition that Derry took a step to recognize this individual and give a shout out to Erin for coordinating all of that. And there's just, can see some of the pictures that are up here from William Hobdy Day, which just happened this past weekend, I believe. And I'm so sorry that I was not able to be there either. Yeah.
Great pictures.
Yeah, there were some good pictures. It looked like a very fun day, so. So for, if people want to go see it, the marker is down on that part of the rail trail they were just showing, right there. And I think we can just show the marker, and then Owen, if you want to, we can kind of go from there. I think there was one that showed it nicely. So this group has various markers throughout the state. Now we're part of their trail. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Great event. All right, moving along. Appointments to the Derry Commerce Corridor Tax Income Finance District Advisory Board. I move to appoint Brad Benson as a member, owner or occupant of real property within the Development District, member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2026. I'm going to do these all together, and if anyone has anything afterwards, we can amend them as we move forward. I move to appoint Gordon Graham as a member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2026. I move to appoint Rick Metz as a member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2025. I move to appoint David Nelson as a member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any other motions? Okay. On the motion, seconded by Council Chiarcello. On the motion, Council Chiarcello?
Yes.
Council Spencer?
Yes.
Council Katz-Corris? Council Flood?
Yes.
Council Granessi?
Yes.
Council McEachran?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Motion carries 7-0. Next. Appointment to the Gateway Tax Increment Finance District Advisory Board. I move to appoint Tom Lannon as a member, owner, or occupant of real property within the Development District, member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2026. I move to appoint Art McLean as a member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2026. I move to appoint David Mills as a member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2025. I move to appoint John O'Connor as a member of the Gateway TIF Advisory Board for a term to expire March 31st, 2024.
Second.
Okay, motion is seconded. Council McEachran. On the motion, Council Chiarcello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corris.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Granessi.
Yes.
McEachran.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. The motion carries 7-0. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you. First up, we are pleased to announce an award the town received with the collaboration between the Granite United Way and our public safety folks. So I'll turn it over to our chief of police and our fire chief.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Kate McDonald. I'm the Public Health Network Specialist for the South Central Public Health Network, which is an initiative of Granite United Way. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting the town of Derry with the Granite United Way's 2022 Advocacy Award. This award recognizes Derry for its outstanding efforts in enhancing bystander response to a possible overdose situation by installing a naloxone box, which is in this building at the entrance. For those who don't know what a naloxone box is, it is a hard acrylic box mounted to an exterior wall that provides 24/7 access to Narcan, which is a medication approved to reverse an opioid overdose. The box also includes a CPR face shield, gloves, and detailed instructions on how to administer Narcan. It is Truly inspiring to witness the town's dedication to reducing the stigma surrounding substance misuse. This commitment showcases Derry's unwavering focus on the well-being of its residents. We look forward to expanding access to this life-saving resource by working with the town and alongside our police and fire partners to install additional boxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Owen, you're gonna get a picture?
You got it.
Over here?
Onward marching. Oh, nice.
Tall guys on the back.
Very nice.
Make sure there's film on the camera.
Thank you very much.
It's awesome. Age myself. It just seemed appropriate.
Okay, next up, Bev Donovan will give us an artist laureate update. And Karen is here as well.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. It's nice to see everybody. Tonight I'm here, we just want to kind of give a quick update. Since way back in 2021, which seems forever ago, the town council had named Karen Monday Lincoln here as the town's artist laureate. And with Karen's vision and a lot of people dedicated to doing some pretty cool things around town through the Public Arts Committee, we've been able to do several projects, but we hadn't really been back here in a while. And so I thought this would be a great time to have Karen come back and just tell you a little bit about some of the projects we've recently done, and then introduce some of the upcoming projects that we have.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Karen Monday Lincoln. I'd like to, first of all, thank you all for your support over the last few years for the public art initiatives that we've been doing here around town. It's been really great to see support, and it's been really wonderful to do it with the community because it's been just a real pleasure all around. I just like to reiterate, like, my intention always with creating public art spaces in Derry was to basically, it's quite simple, is to identify well-used but neglected spaces within our town that we all share and elevate them. It's as simple as that. And in doing so, like, bring our community together because so many people pitch in and help out and volunteer and become a part of this. So what we've done very recently is, you might notice over by the Benson's lawn where the farmers market is, there's a colorful crosswalk there. So that's been planned for a few years. That was something that we were hoping to do before COVID, so in the before times. Thank you. So it's finally not the original idea, as you know, things morphed and changed as they needed to, but Wendy Weatherby of Creative Weatherby Designs did the initial design, which was fantastic, and we did what we could with that to create this. And I think it's really fun, and it makes a lot of people happy. So we did that. That was the Derry Economic Development Department. The Greater Derry Arts Council funded the stencils and the paint for that project. Derry DPW and the Derry PED assisted with that installation, and it's been, I have to say, such a pleasure to work with both groups. Just what a wonderful bunch of people. And then many Public Art Committee volunteers just came out, not just for this one, but every time we do it, we meet and generate more community and more people help out, and it's wonderful. The Abbott Court Stairway has also been on the list for several years. We want to, there's a good picture of that underway. And that is a really good example of the kind of locations that we're targeting, because it's used all the time. But it just tends to get overlooked, it tends to become run down, people tend not to use them because they start to feel unsafe. And we just want to bring it all right back to feeling of safety and vibrancy. And when the community collectively when we work together to do these kinds of things, the people that are helping out take such should as well, like take pride and ownership of helping make these spaces, and it is wonderful. It was so much fun. We had some kids come out. One of the kids had a bassoon and was playing, and we had music. It was just really a great, great time. And we created this beautiful piece of work. So for this, the Public Art Committee, general public showed up. I did the design for this myself. What I was intending to do is something that many, many hands could very easily create. So that's why it looks the way it does. The paint has been donated to us with all of our projects. We've had a lot of donations and a lot of people just pitching in to help. And White Street Paint from Salem has been someone they've just been so kind to us and really supportive of all of our efforts. They provided paint for this. Also with this, social media as of yesterday had reached well over 70,000 things.
Yeah.
And so it's really
In the insights.
yeah.
Yeah, we do track these. We post all of our projects up on social media, mostly to reach people, but also because one of our top goals and the town council's top goals is to make Derry a destination. And so it's when we do that, it's for a reason, and we try to get it out there, and it does attract people from all over. We had comments from as far away as California of people loving this artwork, so it's doing its job.
Yeah, and I just think that's really, really neat, coming from just an afternoon of getting together with our community.
We should talk about the Spud Crow then.
Yes, which I have a little note here. So as well as talking about internationally famous members of our community, we have Spud Crows now in Ireland, where people came to Derry, New Hampshire on a trip, loved the Spud Crows, brought some back home, and now they're there. So we have a growing international community of Spud Crows, which we are hoping to, of course, add to the population this fall, and we'll be, doing that again. And then I guess that will bring us to our next projects here. We're working with the Derry Fire Department on a mural next to the central fire station. So it's a retaining concrete block wall between the golf course and the fire station. So we are going to be again working with the DPW, and hopefully everybody here and all of our usual cohorts and groups to create a mural on that space. It's where the bike path and the walking path goes in, sort of in behind there. And it's another quite neglected space that could really use some attention to make it feel safer, more accessible for people. So there's some fencing that's really dilapidated. There's some junk that needs to get removed. There's a lot of overgrown stuff. There's like overgrown bush in front of the wall that's starting to get cleared away. And in partnership with some other businesses, we're going to have some really interesting elements to this mural as well. And ideally, in the future, it would be great if there was a light at that corner to just make that whole area feel a little bit more safe for people to walk around there at night. It's a well-used place, but it's not very well lit, and we're trying to address that one next. So, as well as we'll be doing some touch-up maintenance of the art along the rail trail. As things are starting to fade, and we need to get back out there and brush them up again. And as always, we were looking for collaborative projects. We're looking for ways to continue our mission to identify and transform neglected spaces in our town. So that's what we're out here to do. And every time we do it, we're trying to pull in the public to help them, for them to help us to help them, and create some art in our community that we can all be proud of. That's it.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, we'll also have a booth at DerryFest. DerryFest is September 16th, Saturday the 16th. So we hope people come out, learn a little bit more about what we're doing, hopefully find some volunteers, because we always have, you know, people coming and going, and there's always room for more. And everything we do is open to anybody, any age, and we try to have everything be accessible
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
free.
Yes, absolutely. And at the Dairy Fest, we will also have mock-ups of this new mural that we're going to be putting up, so people can mock it up. They can figure out what they would like to see on there, and so that'll be something we're going to have at the Dairy Fest to kind of drive the interest in helping out with this mural, too.
Thank you. Well, so I just want to thank you for your vision and your talent in providing that to the town and making it a more beautiful place. And the crosswalk down the farmer's market gets a lot of attention. I've heard a lot of people talk about it and whatnot, so, and things around town. And the rail trail, the Alan Shepherd and all that stuff is amazing. So thank you again for all you're doing to spice things up around here. And I saw also the community involvement, like the younger community members, some of the students come in and help and all that, getting some buy-in in the programs. I think that goes a long way, so.
Yeah, thank you. I
But thank you
agree,
very much for
yeah.
everything you're doing.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions?
Looking great.
No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Edit?
Okay, looking, again, as you know, we track inflation, as that's the metric by which our town budget can be adjusted. And after 6 straight months of decline, it increased slightly, so now the annual rate, month to month, from July of '22 to July 23 is at 2.6%. Also, our Police Standards and Training Council in New Hampshire, which is responsible for training our police officers, they've now developed a law enforcement accreditation program, which is intended to promote standards which exemplifies best practices. Chief Fioli has applied for our department to take part in that program, and it will measure our rules, regulations, and standard operating procedures against the 114 standards identified in the program. Congratulations to Mark Fleischer and his finance team for the 25th consecutive year. The team has received the Achievement Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association for FY22. And it's a really good metric to show that the Finance Department promotes comprehensive and transparent financial reporting for the tax dollars and other dollars which we are responsible for managing. Regarding Public Works projects, our water system seasonal conversion from chloramine to chlorine started yesterday. And also there'll be DPW crews resurfacing with our contractors the week of 8/14 and lasting several weeks in September, including the downtown area on East Broadway from Oak Street to Manning Street. A lot of night work to mitigate the impact on the traffic. Looking at recreation projects, as you recall, the council concurred to invest in new lighting for vets and O'Hare fields. That lighting is on order, and we expect that will occur in October. The AC Lodge renovations are about 75% complete and should be wrapped up hopefully the end of August. And we're still having some challenge with the Hood Park. Mike and his team have the vendor quotes for the equipment, but as you know, we've decided to implement using town forces as the GC, and we're trying to work those in with the rest of our responsibilities. So it's moving along slowly, but understandably so. On a personal front, as mentioned earlier, congrats to Liz Robideau, who has received the selection as the Hookstown Planner. It's a great opportunity for her, but we'll certainly miss her and her many talents. And Chief Richardson reports that the fire department recently filled 6 vacancies in fire and dispatch and continue to recruit to fill paramedic vacancies. That's my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions, Town Administrator? Comments? All right, moving on to public hearings. 23-80, Resolution 2023-051, to approve a supplemental appropriation for Police Department K-9. Chief Fioli and Captain Michaud.
I'm going to bring Captain Michaud with me. He's done a lot of the legwork behind this program and this project, and if there's a question that I can't answer, he'll bail me out. You have before you a staff report. I've tried to distill that into a slideshow for a PowerPoint presentation, which I'll go through. I think it'll be easier for the folks at home as well as those in the audience to follow along. So back in the spring, we began a discussion during the budget season about beginning a police canine program here in town. I embraced the idea, and I went back to our staff, and we developed the information you're going to see today that results in our requesting a supplemental appropriation this evening for some money to begin a program halfway through the year, January 1st in this fiscal year. So the purchase, training, and implementation of this program would benefit the agency and the citizens of the town in a variety of different ways. The program would assist the agency with searches for missing persons or items, suspects involved in criminal activity, narcotics detention, community relations, etc. Derry Police Department currently utilizes mutual aid for all of our canine requests. Right now, we rely on Londonderry. They have 2 canine patrol dogs. Salem PD has 3 patrol dogs and 1 comfort dog. Rockingham County Sheriff's Department has 2 dogs, patrol dogs, and New Hampshire State Police have numerous dogs. And those are the folks we call in first instance. And I will say that even though there's a fair number of agencies and assets available, there are times when we call when they are not available and we just can't get the asset. So if we were to annualize a new police officer, and that's what I'm asking for, an additional police officer, I think back in the spring you may recall that I said if I was going to do this, I would prefer that we add an officer to the roster. So this proposal tonight seeks an additional officer for the department at $103,427 annually, and that will backfill an officer from our existing staff that we will choose for this assignment. Federal law requires FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act, requires overtime to care for that dog during off-duty hours. Now, that dog is a Town of Derry asset. It's property owned by the Town of Derry, and if we ask our officers to feed and care for that dog in their off-duty time, we have to compensate them for such time. So that generally works out to 3.5 hours per week. Annualized, that's $10,244. It's 30 minutes per day. So because we're hiring a new officer with this request, we have an additional cost for new officer uniforms, radio, firearm, and so forth. That all, our body armor, that all equals $7,800. Startup costs for the purchase of a dog, we are hoping to get a Belgian Malinois. They cost between $8,000 and $10,000 to acquire. Marked cruiser upfitting, $11,200, and you see I have an asterisk of FY23 funds there. Back last year, we had in our budget, you may recall, a fleet replacement of 10 vehicles. Well, there were supply chain issues, delays, and so forth. We just got those 10 vehicles in recently. In fact, 4 of them are on the road now. We're waiting on the other 6 to be built at the upfitter. I knew that this program was going to come before you, so I sought permission from the town administrator to keep one of the 10 vehicles that we were going to trade in from the trade-in. So I'm going to trade in 9 versus 10, and I would upfit one of my 2020 fleet vehicles for the purposes of the K-9 patrol. So I sought permission and gained permission to encumber funds from the FY23 budget for that purpose. Now, we haven't spent that money. I don't intend to spend it until we get past tonight. If the approval is granted on the supplemental appropriation, then I'll move forward with the purchase of the equipment. So that takes a little bit of the sting out of the request for money for FY24. A home kennel between $1,500 and $3,000. That's a 6x12 enclosure with a poured pad and a chain link enclosure and an enclosure for the dog. Uniforms, specialty uniforms for the canine handler would require about $500. Specialty equipment called an e-collar, pinch collars, harness, etc. All equals about $2,500 in expenses. Training requirements. The first year, we need to send the canine handler and canine away for 14 weeks. Boston Police Canine Academy typically handles that. It's a $1,400 tuition. And you notice that I listed narcotics detection and explosive detection. typically you choose one of those specialties because you don't train a canine for both of those specialties. So we would choose either narcotics or explosive detection, and that would happen in year 2 of the program. That wouldn't be FY24 money. O&M costs associated is monthly food and treats, monthly medication, annual USPCA membership for the Police Canine Association, and boarding costs for when the officer goes on vacations. That's typically $250. There are specialized kennels that receive police canines when the officer's away on vacation, and they know how to handle those animals. Typically, possible revenue, there is a Stanton Foundation grant available, and they awarded Londonderry $27,000. I believe they awarded Rockingham County $32,000. Those grants are spent over a 3-year period. I have every expectation that the town of Derry, if this is approved and we apply for such a grant, would receive a grant in the vicinity of $30,000 to $32,000. I'll work with the number of $30,000 as we work through this program. The canine officer has to commit to serving as the handler for an initial 5-year period. That's part of the grant requirements. Following completion of the patrol training, the foundation will reimburse the agency $1,000 per week up to 14 weeks. Now, it's an additional $14,000 above the $30,000 that I mentioned above. So that's $44,000 now, all told. Following completion of a specialty training program in year 2, the foundation will provide up to $4,000 to reimburse the time for the officer spent at school. So there are some opportunities for revenue in the next 2 to 3 years. The Stanton Foundation provides grants to departments on a rolling basis. As I said, I expect that if we apply, we will be successful. Once that grant is submitted, of course, we'll come before you for authorization to do same. It's quick turnaround, usually a couple of weeks before they advise you've either been successful or not. The department will conduct our own internal process for selecting a handler. The handler will then meet with the lead canine trainer at the Boston Canine Academy, and that handler will be paired with a dog a few weeks prior to the academy beginning. They run 2 classes each year at that academy, typically March, well, we checked, it's actually specific, March 25th and September 9th of 2024 are the dates you're going to offer the classes. My goal is to enroll someone in the March 25th class. So estimated total costs for the second half of this fiscal year. We take the annual salary, cut that in half, $51,714. The overtime costs cut in half, $51,22. Year 1 approximate startup costs of $17,850. And that's in ongoing years, we anticipate, for full transparency here, about $15,000 a year ongoing costs in years 2, 3, 4, and beyond. So we would need approximately $74,686 for 6 months of funding in FY24. That's what we're asking for a supplemental appropriation for this evening. The possibility does exist that some revenue would be received from various grant sources to offset that expenditure. Interestingly, when the town set their budget and for your FY24 budget, the town set it at $594 per thousand, and we can apply $67,000, $67,500 in excess revenue for this project. And how do I get there? Well, when the town estimated their budget, they considered $20 million in new property value when the budget was constructed. The final assessment indicates that we have $31.34 million in new value generated in FY24. So that results in the additional fiscal capacity of approximately $67,500. So we're asking for $74,686. As I indicated, the $30,000 revenue, and that's a conservative figure, I believe. Spread over 3 years, I'll say $10,000 of that in year 1, up to $14,000 in year 1, completion of training, $24,000. So the net year 1 cost to the taxpayer would be $50,686. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? All right. Do that,
And the
though.
room
Can,
went silent.
Do you want to open up the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on the public hearing, please.
Second.
Okay, motion by Council McEachran, second by Council Granacy to open public hearing on this matter. Council Chercello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corus.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Granacy.
Yes.
Council McEachran.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Public hearing in this matter is now open. Anyone in the public wishing to speak or ask questions, please come up and do so. And Owen, you'll let us know if anyone's online chiming in.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not seeing anybody jumping here. Mr. Owen?
Seeing none rise online, Mr.
Chairman,
Chair.
now that no one's online or here, I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Okay, we have a motion by Council McEachran, second by Council Katz-Corus to close the public hearing. Council Chercello.
Yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katz-Corus.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Granacy.
Yes.
Council McEachran.
Yep.
Chair votes yes. Public hearing is now closed. You got a question, Council McEachran?
No.
Oh, I thought you wanted me.
No, I'll read the resolution when somebody doesn't have a question.
Council Granacy.
I just want to make a comment.
And you-
I think the dog's a great idea. You know, me working in law enforcement, we have dogs, we use them all the time. Would you prefer the narcotics or the explosive? I'm just kind of, if I had the choice, I would say narcotics, only because of what's going on now in the world with narcotics and stuff.
Well, that's an interesting point. I think we might be a year or two away from legalizing marijuana in this state, given recent statements out of Concord. So it almost doesn't make sense to train a dog to sniff marijuana if it's going to be legal.
Yeah, I just don't, well, we can't use it anyway because
We'll have to think about that.
federal, but
Yeah.
I was just being curious, being curious. That was it. Thank you.
Council Katz-Corus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you roughly know how many times we had to borrow a dog?
Yeah, typically, about 15, 16 times a year, we typically, 15 to 16 times a year, we call for assistance with the canine. And as I said earlier, we don't always get that assistance. Sometimes they're not available.
Wow. We need one then.
Well, I think it's a nice tool to have in our pocket.
Yeah. I know, I was in Concord one day, and there was a police officer, chief from the North Country, and he had a dog. And I stopped and talked with him. They had two dogs, a working dog and a comfort dog. And he said what he uses mostly is the comfort dog. You know, he brings it to nursing homes and schools and parades and every place. And maybe after we have a working dog, we can think about a
Oh,
comfort
yeah,
dog.
you could,
Certainly can explore that.
But they said they use the comfort dog more than they did the other dog.
I don't doubt that.
This was enough.
you can pet the patrol dogs. I have scars. I got bit.
Yeah, Mr. Sheen, no
other
other
comments, questions?
comments?
Yeah, I have some comment.
Council Chercello, floor is yours.
Yeah, right, thanks, Chief. I sort of agree with Councilor Granici. I mean, we're the fourth largest in the state, so, it's about time that we get a dog. I was very fortunate enough in my other political hat at the county. We actually brought the 2 police dogs to the sheriff's department, which is working out well. One of the things that we did have over at the county is we had a lot of vendors actually give us like free food sponsorships. Any idea of whether we would reach out to see if maybe a local veterinarian or a feed store would be a sponsor, or?
We've already had similar offers. I put the costs up there that are associated with care and feeding. I anticipate that we might not incur all of that cost because of those programs.
Yeah.
Some of the vendors in town have already offered such services.
Okay. And then I want to believe our dog Saber, the first one, actually was trained for both narcotics and explosives, both. Does that sound right? I don't know.
What little I know at this point, I didn't think you'd train them both for both disciplines. I thought you trained one, but I can look
Yeah,
at the-
I want to say that they did, but I'm not sure. But would you? It's only one. Only one, okay. Yeah, it's either patrol, narcotics patrol, or explosives. Okay. You can't do all three.
The other thing is, do you anticipate
using it at Pinkerton Academy or any of the schools?
I think we'd use it anywhere that need arose.
Okay. And then lastly, obviously, more than likely, the dog will need a protection vest. Down
Yes.
down the road, once they grow.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's a program that's given those free vests out as well.
Yes.
Okay. I'm supportive of it, program.
Council Spencer, do you have any? I thought you.
No, I was going to say with the feeding programs that it sounds like you already have contacts, but if you don't, we will chat.
Thank you.
Council Katsouris, you have something else?
Yeah, just briefly. I remember, I've been in town almost 60 years, and I remember the fire department had a dog. Oh, probably
Sparky?
40, 50 years ago.
any
But I
questions?
remember the black and white dog. You'd go in there and there'd be this big dog just laying there. And, but I don't recall the police, and I say it's really about time. And I support
Thank you.
that 100%.
I don't believe the police department in Derry's history has ever had a canine patrol program. This will be a first.
Really?
It's good.
Cool. No, that's good.
Yeah. And I'll just say I'm glad that it's come to this point. Hopefully it'll
Yeah.
pass tonight, and long overdue, so in about 2 minutes, I'll let you know if I'm happy or not, so. Does anyone want to make a council?
Well, we certainly don't want to disappoint the chairman. I will remind all the councilors that we did discuss this during budget time, and we had already allocated the money for this particular purpose, if you recall going through the fiscal calculations that I had provided along with Dave for this. So this is, understand it's supplemental, but the money has already been set aside for this. And I will echo Chairman Foote. I think this is a great idea and a long time overdue, so I certainly appreciate the police officers supporting this and wanting this dog. Having said that, and being last man standing, I will make the resolution, number 2351, to approve a supplemental appropriation for Police Department K-9. Whereas the town charter establishes the town council is the appropriating authority for the town, and as such is empowered by section 9(6) of the charter to make supplemental appropriations after the annual budget is adopted. And whereas the K-9 programs in the police department contribute to the community's safety and augment the abilities of the departments to respond to a variety of requests for assistance, and whereas the K-9 program would enhance the department's effectiveness when searching for missing persons, apprehending suspects, narcotics detection, community relations, and whereas the unanticipated growth in the tax base would fund the implementation of the program within the council's target tax rate, now therefore be it resolved at the council that the sum of $74,686 shall be appropriated to fund the K-9 program beginning January 1st, 2024. This resolution needs to be adopted by 2/3 majority of the council as required by the charter and shall take effect immediately upon its passage. Adoption August 15th, 2023.
Second.
Two people. Stereo.
All right, so, motion by Councilor McEachran, seconded by Councilor Ganassi. On the motion, Councilor Cherichello.
Yes.
Councilor Spencer.
Yes.
Councilor Katsouris.
Yes.
Councilor Flood.
Yes.
Councilor Ganassi.
Yes.
Councilor McEachran.
And in an effort to make the chairman happy, yes.
And the chair votes yes, 7-0. Yes, Chief, I'm happy now.
Thank you very much.
Captain, thank you for all your hard work and getting this all figured out, hammered out, and the rest of your staff, thank you.
That's good.
All right.
Can't wait to see the new Malinois.
Do you ever see those things snap? 15?
Want to see my hand?
I was just going to say, do you want to see Scott's?
Apparently someone got too close to the dog once or twice.
Next public hearing, 2381, Resolution 2023-052, to adjust various fees and fines. Mr. Karen will be presenting.
Thank you. This project started back in May when the council approved ordinance 2023-003 to restrict parking at Ryder Field. There was a comment made by the council that we believe that the fine was ineffective and out of date. And, you know, that resonated with the staff because throughout departments, we've talked about the need to update our fees. So we got all hands on deck, and every department manager and their staff reviewed all their fines to bring them up to date. And so tonight is a comprehensive resolution asking to adjust most of our fines and fees in the community. Some had not been adjusted, some of the unique ones since 1973. So we thought it was time. Regarding the original subject, the fine for parking, the recommendation from the police chief is $25. The other issue is, just to clarify, is that we receive a number of right-to-know requests here at the town, and the Supreme Court has ruled that we cannot charge for research time for staff. We can only charge for copies. So we've standardized that cost at 50 cents per page. That is the amount which they're charged up at the Supreme Court. So we figured that was a safe area to land. We also received numerous requests for notary public certifications from our staff, which are becoming more and more. So we recommend it to be a $3 charge for that as well. There's a number of fees which we charge, which are established by statute, state statute. We haven't changed those. But the premise behind the fees is, obviously, your tax dollars pay for the shared community services such as streetlights, police, fire, and roads. However, those services we provide, which are really a benefit to an individual, such as permits, building permits, health inspections, we try to assign those costs to the citizens or the developers requesting those services. The only one in which we don't do a dollar for dollar for is recreation fees. We want to make sure we don't block out any of our citizens who may not have a lot of financial means. So this recommendation covers most of our fees. We'll be hearing back from the fire department this fall for our biannual adjustment of ambulance fees. The council already looked at the wastewater and water fees during the budget process. Staff does not see a need to adjust DPW engineering fees, and our rec fees are currently still under consideration. So some of these fees are increasing as much as 35%, and that's a big percentage, but they're going, well, there's one here going from $25 to $50, which is a 100% increase, but again, a large percent increase, not a very significant cost increase to the applicant. What we try to do on your spreadsheet is give you an idea of the order of magnitude of the fee increases and the revenues generated. There's a lot of big holes in this because we haven't had the opportunity to go back and look at building permit fees. But in average, when you take away the large revenue generated, like a building permit fee, we expect that these fee adjustments will increase the town's revenues north of $50,000 each year. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, before we do the questions, open the public hearing.
Okay, a motion by Councilor McGuckin, second by Councilor Chercello to open public hearing on this matter. Councilor Chercello?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris? Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Granessi?
Yes.
Councilor McGuckin?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Public hearing on this matter is now open. If you wish to speak, please come up and do so. State your name and address for the record, and we have a taker. And Owen, you'll let us
Okay.
know. Thank you.
Play the Jeopardy theme song.
Good evening. My name is Richard Tripp. I live at 44 Wyndham Road. I guess during public hearing, there was something that tweaked my interest. I know there's no current, well, I don't know anything. I suspect there's no current fine for having animals that are a public nuisance, So I just wondering if there's any fine for that type of issue, and if that was one of the fees that was increased, because if you remember many years ago, I used to come up and complain about the rooster that lived next to me, and I would have been very happy if there was a fine for that, and I would be very, very happy if that fine was increased, because it was a nuisance. So I don't know what fines are being increased, but I hope that it is one that's considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing none rise online, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chairman, seeing no one else rise in here, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Before we close it, do you?
Oh, no, it's fine, just,
Motion to close public hearing by Councilor McGuckin, second by Councilor Katsoukaris. On the motion, Councilor Chercello?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris? Council Flood?
Yes.
Council Canesi?
Yes.
Council McEckern?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Public hearing is now closed on this. Mr. Karen?
Yeah, most of the items before the council this evening deals with fees. There are a few fines. I believe state statute still stipulates, Chief?
Chief.
Chief?
Chief.
He's looking for a dog already.
He's shopping
No
for a dog.
dog.
See, he's on Dogs R Us. What's for sale?
Chewy. He's on Chewy.
Chewy.
I believe the state statute still stipulates the amount of fines for violation of town ordinances. Is that correct? Okay, so if there was a public nuisance with respect to animals, that would be a violation of town ordinance. And so those fines would be set by statute. And I think they still $275, or we're not sure. Okay. Sorry, go
Look
back
into
to your
it.
shopping.
Chewy wish list.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council?
I have just a
Councilor
quick
Churchill.
comment, yeah. Just to put things into perspective, when we found out, when we just heard that some of these have not been touched since 1973, that's the year after Bobby Orr won the Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins, so that just goes to show you how long ago that was. And I believe I was 11 years old at the time, so it's about time we move some of these.
Aaron wasn't born yet, so.
I was going to stay quiet on that, but you're right.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions, I'd be happy to read the resolution.
Go ahead.
No other questions. Resolution 2023-052, to adopt the revised fee and fine schedule for town services, ordinances, and regulatory programs. Whereas Section 7.2 of the Town Charter empowers the Town Council to regulate all fees for the use of town services, and whereas Article 6 of the Charter empowers the Town Council as the legislative body of the town to adopt and amend ordinances which include the authority to establish fine structures for violations of town ordinances, and whereas most of the town fees and fines have not been updated for many years and are in need of adjustment to reflect the cost of providing said services and to serve as an effective deterrent to violations of town ordinances, now therefore be it resolved in council that the proposed schedule of fees and fines for the use of town services in violation of town ordinances is hereby adopted. Be it further resolved that the town ordinance referenced in the attached schedules are hereby amended to incorporate the revised fee and fine structure as enacted by the Derry Town Council. Resolution shall take effect 30 days after passage. Passage anticipated August 15th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Councilor McEckern, seconded by Councilor Spencer. On the motion, Councilor Churchill?
Yes.
Councilor Spencer?
Yes.
Councilor Katsoukaris?
Yes.
Councilor Flood?
Yes.
Councilor Ganesi?
Yes.
Councilor McEckern?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, 7-0. New business. Item 23-95, Resolution 2023-057, to transfer funds to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund. Mr. Karen again.
Thank you. A couple of these resolutions coming up deal with year-end financial closeouts. And a few years back, Senator Brizzell was instrumental in having the legislature pass Senate Bill 87, which allows the town to fence 50% of the wheeling charge we receive for carrying water from Manchester to communities south of us for economic development purposes. In FY '23, the revenues totaled $254,960. So under this resolution, we are seeking authorization to transfer $127,480 to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund, of which the town council is the agent to expend. So the funds would stay there pending further action from the town council. After this transfer, the balance in the fund will be just under $225,000.
Questions, comments?
Yeah. So the money's in the fund, we've all talked about this. Dave, do we have any anticipation of expenditures of any of these funds anytime in the near term, or?
The reason why the council advocated for this fund was the theory of extending sewer down 28 South.
Yep.
And to bond the local share and to pay the debt service from this fund. That was the vision when it was created a couple of years ago.
So Tommy would have that, excuse me, for the public, Tom Carrier, our Director of Water and Wastewater, would have a plan for that expansion. I see Mike Fowler in the audience, and I see Mike Fowler shake his head in the affirmative for those at home not seeing that. So Thank you. I'll look forward to seeing that report from,
Yeah, what we're doing is we received a grant in the federal budget from Senator Shaheen for $3.2 million to extend that water. It was supposed to represent 80%. We all know what happened with construction prices. So now we're trying to work through that, how that all is going to work in with respect to the federal money, the local share, and maybe some additional federal funds. We're currently working through that.
good, yeah, I'd like to see that plan, because I do know several of the businesses down on 28, when you start getting to Ryan's Hill and beyond, are certainly looking forward to the expansions of water and sewer, and I know that does open up the possibility for a lot of different business possibilities on some of those lots, right? I mean, there are businesses existing there, somewhat restricted because of the lack of water and sewer, right? You can only do so much on those lots, so the expansion of water and sewer down 28 provides a great way of doing economic development. We also know the cost of water and sewer down there would somewhat prohibitive using the current funding patterns that we use in neighborhoods, right? Because a few lots and a lot of pipe means a lot of expense, so we can talk about this as the fall goes on and see where we are. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilor Chiarcello.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of years ago, when we worked out this project, we knew that the towns around us will be requiring additional water. So the state paid for all the infrastructure. We are wielding water through, and the more volume that comes through that we wield, the more money we're going to be making. I know for a fact that if you go down 28, you can see in Wyndham, they're actually on 28, they're growing already there. And then in Wyndham, they're talking about maybe going around to 111.
Yep.
Coupled with the fact that Salem's going to be requiring a lot more water as well. So I expect this fund to be pretty good, and we're going to be in a good spot. The town of Derry's in a good spot.
Well, Wyndham's building some new housing right off of 28,
Yeah.
if you look at it.
So we get this money in perpetuity. It's going to continue to grow as I see it. But anyway,
Anything else?
Well, if there are no other questions, I'll be happy to read the resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Seeing none from the board, Resolution 2023-57, transfer of funds to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund, where Section 9(7) of the Town Charter empowers the Town Council to transfer any unencumbered appropriation balance, and whereas the Town Council previously authorized participation in the Southern New Hampshire Regional Water Interconnect Project, and whereas the participation included receiving wheeling charges from users of the Derry system within the project, and whereas the town advocated the legislation to amend the statute to allow a portion of the revenue to be utilized for economic development purposes, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is authorized to transfer the sum of $127,480 from the Water Division Wheeling Revenue Account to the Derry Economic Development Expendable Trust Fund. Resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Anticipated adoption August 15th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Council McEachern, second by Council Katsoukaris. Council Chiarcello.
yes.
Council Spencer.
Yes.
Council Katsoukaris.
Yes.
Council Flood.
Yes.
Council Granessi.
Yes.
Council McEachern.
Yep.
The chair votes yes, motion 7-0. Agenda item 23-96, resolution 2023-061, to authorize the use of bond proceeds for certain culvert improvements. Mr. Fowler.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, I'm here to discuss the results of our Franklin Street culvert and to have the council endorse action to move forward based on a previous authorization of $1.6 million of bond proceeds. So just a real quick story. Obviously, this past year, we've been inundated with a number of heavy rainstorms. Fortunately, Derry has not suffered the same consequences as you've seen in the North Country. Part of that's a little bit of luck. Part of that's also been planning for infrastructure. So one of the things that the department has done, I think, a very good job at is ascertaining funds. The council has supported funds for culvert upgrades. We've done, I believe, 9 projects in the last 17 years, and I think it goes back to 15 projects over the last 25 years. So town wants to continue to keep its infrastructure up. We have 3 projects that we had envisioned within the CIP. That was a total of $1.6 million. Sunset Avenue 1, Sunset Avenue 2, and Franklin Street were the 3 projects that we had a bond authorization approved on May 19th, 2022. Gone through the process of the bid and also getting the environmental permitting. We decided upon going forward with the Franklin Street culvert first because it's in the worst condition out of the 3 of them. We'd like to follow up shortly thereafter on the Sunset Ave culverts. Initially, the pricing we had envisioned was $500,000 for Sunset 1, $600,000 for Sunset 2, and $600,000 for Franklin Street. Bids went out, competitive bids were put out, as everybody is aware. Pricing for materials, labor, and these construction costs continue to escalate. So the pricing came in, we had 3 bids. The lowest of the 3 bids was $843,840. We had approximately $80,000 for engineering. That brings the total price for construction to $923,048. Just for contingency and good construction practices, if we find things that we don't anticipate, we want to have a little bit of a cushion. We're recommending $1 million to be utilized out of the $1.6 million bond fund. So initially, when this was put forward, the resolution for the bond was not specific to a single project, but tonight we want to make sure we have confirmation from the council that that's the direction that you want to move forward on. We're going to be seeking to sign a contract and get this project signed in the dotted line. Will allow them to fabricate the precast concrete, and we'll see that project initiate probably in June of 2024. The last piece of this that I just want to be transparent about is now the next question becomes, if we had $1.6 million of bond proceeds for 3 projects, we're going to spend $1 million or up to $1 million on just one. What happens about the other 2 projects? So we do intend on going out to bid for the other 2 Sunset Ave projects. We do anticipate that there's going to be some inflation just like this project from the original estimates. The good news is if you have $600,000 in bond proceeds, we have also been banking funds that we've received over the course of the years from the state reimbursements in what we call a bridge fund. The state recently enhanced 2 times, $570,000 in fiscal '23, and we just came to town council back in July for another, I think it was $170,000. So that bridge fund now has banked to a balance of about $825,000. So what we believe, and I'll be back to council after that bid has been taken, we'll talk about the funding mechanism and make sure we can secure that based on the bids that we have. So tonight's discussion is only about approving the resolution to move forward on Franklin Street. But like I said, we'll be back shortly thereafter when we have bids in hand for Sunset Ave and making sure we can move forward with that. So with that, any questions, I'd be certainly happy to answer.
Councilor Churchill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just had a quick question on, sorry, I apologize. On when we put these out to bid, we do them separately, or have we thought about maybe bundling them to see if we can get a better price, or is it what's the driver, just the materials or the labor?
It's probably a combination of both. One of the things that we've talked about with our consultant is now that we have a bidder who has identified and we would sign a contract with for Franklin Street, it's attractive for them and to take advantage, to the point I think you're trying to make, if we can strike while the iron is hot on the 2 Sunset Ave projects, get some bids, it may be attractive to say, I've already mobilized my personnel here, we're set up in Derry, we might get a more favorable price. So we are anticipating to try to work that out so that we can build all 3 almost simultaneously.
Anyone else?
Seeing no questions, I'll be happy to read the resolution. For the councilors, please note in your package, 23, 96, and 97 were mixed up. So go to the title, change 97 to 96, 96 to 97, and flip the pages, it'll be all set. Resolution 2023-061, the authorization to use of bond proceeds for certain culvert improvements. Whereas Section 5.1 of the Town Charter designates the Town Council as the governing and legislative body of the town, and whereas the council previously authorized a supplemental appropriation for culvert improvements pursuant to Resolution 2022-037, whereas the Town Council concurred with the plan to address culvert deficiencies on Franklin Street and Sunset Ave, whereas adequate funds are available to replace the Franklin Street culvert, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is hereby authorized to obligate the sum of $1 million from the culvert improvement bond for the Franklin Street culvert project. Resolution shall take place, effect immediately after passage. Passage anticipated August 15th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Counsel McEachern, second by Counsel Spencer. On the motion, Counsel Chercello?
Yes.
Counsel Spencer?
Yes.
Counsel Katz-Corus?
Yes.
Counsel Flood?
Yes.
Counsel Granessi?
Yes.
Counsel McEachern?
Yep.
And chair votes yes, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
He gets to stay, right? No.
Last item,
Dave gets it.
2397, Resolution 2023-062, transfer of funds for the transfer station solar project. Mr. Karen?
Yeah, the council may recall back in 2018, we constructed a solar array over the transfer station. And instead of seeking conventional financing, the project was about $300,000. And the council concurred to use our capital reserve fund at Public Works to finance that project and then get repaid from the various funds from energy savings at the rate of 3% a year. That was the interest cost. So this is the annual transfer, and we're seeking to transfer in total $26,522 from various accounts to the DPW Capital Reserve Fund.
Questions?
Seeing no one jump to the forefront, I will read Resolution 2023-062, transfer of funds for the transfer station solar project. Whereas Section 9.7 of the Town Charter empowers the council to transfer any unencumbered appropriation balance, and whereas the Town Council approved the use of public work capital reserve funds to fund the construction of a solar array at the transfer station, and whereas a year-end transfer is required for the annual reimbursement to the capital reserve fund, now therefore be it resolved in council that the town administrator is authorized to transfer the sum of $26,522 from the transfer station budget, $11,822, and the water waste fund of $14,700 to the DPW Capital Reserve Fund. Resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Passage anticipated August 15th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Counsel McEachern, second by Counsel Spencer. Counsel Chercello?
Yes.
Counsel Spencer?
Yes.
Counsel Katz-Corus?
Yes.
Counsel Flood?
Yes.
Counsel Granessi?
Yes.
Counsel McEachern?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion passes 7-0. Council comments? Liaison reports. Well, how about September? We'll do liaison reports at the end of the night, but for those, be prepared for that. Comments? Counsel Flood?
I promise one of these nights I'll have something prepared and coherent. My foundation, Jason R. Flood, runs 2 fundraisers a year and 2 big community events, one in January, the Tupelo Music Hall, and one in July at the Boys and Girls Club. Both of them this year have been the largest events we've had attended and have raised the most money we ever have to help benefit the Upper Room, Sunshine Soup Kitchen, Boys and Girls Club, amongst a few others, the Derry Friendship Center. The CDC has just come out with its new reports for suicide rate in this country, and it's up 2.6%. Nearly 50,000 people took their lives in 2022. It is still the 10th leading cause of death nationally, and is the 2nd leading cause of death from ages 10 to 34 years old. New Hampshire is 35% higher than the national average and is approximately right in the middle of the nation for rate. We come in right around 20th, and there are a lot of ties that make it about out of 45 states. I just want to thank everyone who's helped us grow, who's helped us spread the word, who has participated. our organization is, there's a lot of people talking about it. We're trying to think outside the box a little bit, which is scary at times. No one likes to take chances, but what we're doing isn't working. We need to try harder. We have a showing coming up in October. October 13th, it's a Friday night. At some point, if I ever finish my book, you'll understand the significance of that date and my son. But we'll be showing it the event will be at the Stockbridge Theater at Pinkerton Academy, and tickets are on sale at their website. And it's hopefully, it'll help communication between parents and their children and just adults in themselves. From 34 to 55, it's the 5th leading cause of death. That's right in my wheelhouse, in every adult it affects. So just think about it. Look at your calendars, check it out. It's a big community event. It's something we need to fix and we need to do better. But thank you to everyone who's helped us get to where we are today.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If there is nothing else, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Chip, you wanna go?